can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs like the founders of P90X, Atari, many more, how they overcome big challenges in life and business. This is part of the Prosper Show e-commerce mastery series, where top sellers and experts teach you what really works to boost your e-commerce business. They have an amazing conference with some of the top Amazon sellers and industry leaders, including today. We have Chaim Justman. People call him Justin because it's probably easier to pronounce, but I got it rocked down. He's founder of RefundsManager.com. He's a software developer turned Amazon Refunds hero. When I heard about, Justin, what you offer, I was like, this is an absolute no-brainer to use your company, but you obviously only work with sellers who have a certain volume of sales. And when we were talking before we hit record, there's an objection you get that I did not expect, which we'll talk about. The reason it's a no-brainer with Refunds Manager is they charge you nothing up front and only get paid when they collect funds from Amazon's mistakes. Justin, Chaim, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jeremy, for taking the time to doing the interview.
Yeah, so I want to talk about some of the common errors, because you have a business because Amazon makes mistakes, right? So I want to hear about, we'll talk about some of the objections I mentioned, but what are some of the common errors that Amazon makes?
Right, so we have like 17 different types of problems that we've come across.
Yeah.
We'll just try to go
What's the
through
most
a few
surprising for you that you're like, you would never think Amazon would make a mistake on this?
I think the one that they say that they return the item to inventory and they actually don't return it to inventory. That's
really?
like a very interesting, yeah.
What
That's
happens to it? It just
Actually, what
evaporates?
happened is they have a report that's called a return report, and they tell the customer in the return report, this item came back as a return, the customer returned it, and you know what? We took that item, we put it back into inventory. Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
What happens, but when we check the inventory of that item never came back into inventory.
Yeah.
I mean, just
that seems
before we
impossible
start out,
to track that.
99% of the times, they don't make mistakes.
Right, yeah.
We're here for that 1%. And that's, that shouldn't be happening either. But we're here for that 1% or sometimes a little bit less than 1%, depending on the account. And those happen, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah. I mean, with someone who's doing lots of sales volume, that 1% adds up.
Especially that everybody today is really working on a low margin. There's 10 or 50 or 100 listings on every item. So everybody's margin is like pennies and exactly figured out. So, sometimes that 1% can really add up to you.
So what are some of the other common errors that Amazon makes?
So another common error is that Amazon sometimes in the warehouse damages, destroys, or loses items.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon acknowledges that. That Amazon has these huge warehouses and they have low-paying workers over there, and things happen in the warehouse. Sometimes they're full, sometimes they're not, but they usually reimburse. Now, when I say usually, that's where we come in, because there's the small percentage where they don't. They're supposed to, for damages, they're supposed to reimburse you within 10 days. Mm-hmm. For lost items within 30 days. And destroyed, they're not supposed to be destroying anything ever, except if it's a hazmat item. So we wait that amount of days plus. So we usually wait like almost 2 months, sometimes longer, depending on the case type, and say, Amazon, listen, this item got damaged, this item got lost, you never found it, the window that you're supposed to reimburse passed. Can you please reimburse us what we're doing? So that's one of the few cases that we have. And we also have a case where a customer is supposed to return an item and he never returns it, and the seller gets debited. So let's say I sell a camera for $100. And the customer gets it. He tells Amazon, I want to give back the item. Amazon gives him a label to print out. He's supposed to be sending back the item, but he doesn't. Somehow, the item gets scanned as if it's going back, and that's when the seller gets debited. That the item is going back to him, but it never comes back to Amazon's warehouse. What happened was the seller got debited for the return, but he never got the item back into his warehouse. So he's on a loss for that.
That seems impossible to track.
Right. That's why we built the system 4 years ago. And, I've been a programmer, so constantly looking for ideas. We get feedback from clients for ideas, and
because how do you even discover this seems almost hard to track, and then how do you discover it's a problem, and then you have to build a software system to detect some of these things, right? So how did you detect that was even an issue?
So most of our clients are sure that we sell on Amazon.
Yeah.
Which is our number one disclosure. We do not, me and not my wife and not my brother-in-law and a different name and all these things. We do not sell on Amazon.
That's a big objection.
Right.
So
we make it clear to all our users, we don't sell on Amazon. We're not going to compete with you. So that's why one of our main things. And the way I came across it is I've been a software developer since 2000. When there was the big tech startups, and so I was working quite a few startups. And then I had my own software development company that I opened up, and we slowly went into the Amazon inventory system. There was so many people going to the Amazon seller platform. And I built this platform that was keeping track of inventory. It was doing multi-channel integration with Amazon and eBay and Sears and Newegg, all those different marketplaces that are out there. It was quite interesting. It was before there were like 50 companies doing that, but that was in 2009. And I actually had one client that was very nitty gritty, and he looked at the numbers and he compared everything. He had his internal system, a DAS system actually. It was interesting. And he came to me a few times and he said, you built a nice system, but the numbers that you have in your system showing Amazon has 100 pieces or 200 pieces doesn't match up to my system that I have in my DAS system.
He was really keeping track of everything. I know my DAS
system is bulletproof. I'm using it for 40 years. So I told him, let me look at the numbers again. We'll go back, and see. And I looked at it, and I looked at Amazon again and again. I said, you know what? Let's ask Amazon. He says, no, Amazon can't be making a mistake. What big Amazon, their numbers are solid, as good as mine. Says, let's give it a chance. We opened the case with Amazon. I said, listen, we shipped in 100 items. You received 50. We sold 40. We should have 10 left. You show 0. Waited a few days. Amazon comes back and says, you know what? You're right. You should have 10. You only have 0. Here's a reimbursement for 3,000 and change.
Wow.
I said, wow. Let's do another one. And we did another one, and we did another one. And that was like a huge eye-opener. And I said, hey, instead of being busy with inventory, let's be busy with Amazon's mistake. And as I got into it, I heard from customers different ideas where they found mistakes. We got feedback from different sellers, what they found. And we've tested it. We tested with a few different customers that are willing to test it with us. And then once we launch it, everybody gets the benefit of it for no extra cost. And that's how we grew in the last 4 years. So today we have over 3,000 customers.
Wow. So, Justin, when you decide, okay, I'm switching to Refunds, being refundsmanager.com, right? What's the first thing you do? Because you don't have a software, but you have this inventory management software. What do you do when you first start this company?
So the first thing, obviously, I was a programmer, so I built the database and the program and the coding. I got a basic server to do it.
But what did you build?
I told all of my friends that had the inventory system, said, you know what, I have a great system. You can get money back from Amazon. And then nobody heard of that. I said, well, you're crazy. But they all, had like a nice amount of customers starting out.
How did you know what to build though, starting out?
Oh, because I knew the Amazon API. API is the Amazon backend integration because I was using it for the inventory. So I knew how Amazon reports work. I knew how to get the data into the database. Mm-hmm. So once we had that in, to do the programming, that's the easy part for me. So
the inventory in that situation didn't match up. And then you got feedback from different customers of what else has been issues. So what else did you add into the software?
So like I mentioned before, the items that were damaged, lost in the warehouse, orders that were not returned. Another thing is the orders that were over-credited. That means, let's say a customer buys the item for $100, and he for whatever reason, the item gets damaged, it comes down. She calls up Amazon. He's all angry. This was supposed to come on time for Christmas. Now I don't have anything to give to my daughter. He makes this whole big story. So Amazon wants to make him feel good, and Amazon says, you know what? We'll give you back $100. So the guy says, no, but you ruined my whole holiday season. So Amazon says, you know, as a one-time courtesy, we'll give you another $50. So that extra $50 is considered Amazon's goodwill.
Right.
They're trying to go out of their way. They're giving it extra credit.
Right.
But that's supposed to be coming out of Amazon's pocket, not from the seller's pocket. Many times it comes out of the seller's pocket, and that's when we go after that. That's another case. Another case is a customer buys something. It sits in his house for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. A half a year later, it decides, you know what? Amazon has a very good return policy. They always accept whatever condition. I already used it. Let me return it to Amazon. So whatever reason Amazon accepts it, they put it back or they don't put it back. Now Amazon doesn't reimburse it, and you have this crappy item that you can't even sell. So basically it's against Amazon's policy to accept anything beyond 30 days. You know, the holiday season, they have a longer thing. You can actually give back until February 1st, sometimes longer. It's a little bit longer. We take those into consideration also, but anything outside of the window that Amazon gives you to return and was returned, Amazon didn't reimburse you for that. We go after those types of cases. Also, we go after anything users send in. This is a simple case. You know, you send in 100, Amazon only receives 50, either gets lost or damaged, whatever it is. And then we usually, in this case also, we wait at least 30 days to open a case for that. Then we bumped into an interesting thing with the weight. There's, you know, every FBA item has different fees. There's a weight fee, that means how much it weighs, and there's dimension fee, how big it is, the smaller items, bigger items, and then there's a commission fee, depending which category it's falling under.
They get as many fees in there as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. They also have storage fee, which you know, it's a little bit of a problem to go after, but. Meanwhile, we're going after the weight fees. So let's say if an item weighs 10 pounds, they're charging you for 20 pounds. Dimension, let's say something is a little item and they're charging you as this oversized. So that I understand why that happens, because when somebody sends in an item to Amazon, they usually send it with their own packaging. There's some sellers that they have the same standard box for everything. And they're shipping in small items, big items, this big box. And when it comes into Amazon's warehouse, they have, you know, these lasers that are checking all the dimensions of everything. And when something comes in different than what they have in their system, they update it to the new dimensions. It could be something with small, and this one seller that has this crazy big box is messing it up for all the other ones. So what we do is, if we find something that's totally off as far as dimensions or anything in the weight, we would open a case and give all the orders for the last 18 months, which is how much we go back. And the same thing with commissions. If we find any issue with commission fees being overcharged, then we tell them the right category is this, you should be charged, and that's basically how much we get back for them.
Is this impossible to detect on your own, or do you need a certain software? Like, are there certain things that people can actually...
Obviously, yeah. I did it, so anybody can do it. It's just that you need the time and the resources. We've been doing it for 4 years, so, you know, we know what to look for. We know what Amazon's response are for most of these cases, so we know what to exclude from the cases that we open.
Yeah.
So, you know...
like, for the lowest hanging fruit, when you go in and you get this person's like, I need what you have, right? I need a refunds manager, help me. What's the lowest hanging fruit usually that you look at first for a company?
We don't have anything in particular. The main thing we try to go is the highest value that are old. That means Amazon has a limit of 18 months. So as time passes by, you have less cases to file. That means if something got lost 17...
Oh, so you go back 18 months because
right.
Those are going to basically drop off right. Where you can't do anything with them.
If we don't take care of those first, you know, since we do the cases very slowly, you know, we don't go and open 20 cases when you open an account. We do it very slowly. We have manual review. Somebody goes through all the cases, make sure that it's valid, changes the text, makes it look normal. and then gives it over to Amazon. So we do only like a few cases at a time, not to overload Amazon system. And then as we get to it, so it might take, if it's a big account, it might take a month or two, sometimes a little bit longer. We try to get the ones that really are really old so we don't miss those.
Yeah. I want to hear about some horror stories. You've probably seen a lot of them. There was one, there was a $50,000 mistake?
Yeah. So that's
What
something
happened?
that for the case that I just mentioned, for the commission fee, that we had one client that had an item that was miscategorized. It was put on the electronic accessories, which is a 15% category, and it should have been under the regular electronics, which is 8%. So there's 7% difference. So we went back
big
18 months,
difference.
and he must have sold thousands of that item. And yeah, we got back in one reimbursement. We see big reimbursements for losses and damages, but this was a really interesting case.
I didn't
that we got
realize
back.
that there was that discrepancy of percentage that they charge you.
Right. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And there was also one with iPads.
Right.
What
So
happened
that
with
was
that?
an interesting story that is one of our customers. They labeled, this was actually the seller was at fault over here. They took the iPads and putting the FN SKU, those barcodes that Amazon gives you, instead of putting it in each box individually, they took it and they put it on the master carton of each big box that has 10 in it.
Wow.
So what happened was,
Tell me
when
which
they
one
sent-
so I can go buy one. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a story of 3 years ago. So what happened was, when they scanned it into Amazon, they scanned it as one item, and the seller didn't even know about it until one of his customers was nice enough to call him. He says, "You know what? I ordered one and you sent me 10. That's so nice of you." And he said, "What?" And then they realized what the mistake was. And actually, Amazon, on the first time that happened, they were quite good about it, and they actually reimbursed this guy. It was like $50,000-$60,000 on that
Wow.
one case, because it was it was a huge case actually.
That's sort of a
The
gray
thing is,
area
this guy
because
messed up again, and Amazon said, "That's it. Get your workers in your
Right.
warehouse
yeah.
water over there. We're not going to be playing this game too much." Yeah.
How do you overcome objections when people are very private and because a big objection you get is, do you sell? We want to keep it private. How do you overcome those?
Right. So, to be honest, we don't always get over the objection. 99% of the times we do, and the way that we say it is, first of all, we don't sell on Amazon ourselves,
Yeah.
which people see as a big plus, because we're not going to compete against them.
Yeah.
And second of all, we've been around for over 4 years. We have over 3,000 customers that put the trust in us. So we haven't ever
They
had
either
any
accept that
issue.
or they don't, type of thing.
Right.
Why do you think people are
Sometimes have bigger users, like that do like 20-30 million a year. They want to meet face to face, and I totally understand that, and we've done that as well. Sometimes that builds the trust, just meeting face to face and getting to know each other, and sometimes that helps.
What's the best advice you've gotten from a customer for e-commerce?
What do you mean as far as
like,
e-com?
yeah, I'm sure you talk to a lot of e-commerce founders, a lot of customers. They all are business owners. I'm wondering what some of the best advice, just through conversation, that they've told you about selling on Amazon or online in general.
To be honest, I don't usually speak to them about it.
No.
It's funny because I have a lot of my friends are my customers.
Yeah.
And they sometimes approach me and they say, you saw that we're doing really well in the last quarter or whatever. I tell them, I'm really happy that you're doing well, and I'm sure our account also is doing well. But to be honest, I don't really look into your account, how much money you're doing. That's, if I would be busy with looking at everybody's account, I wouldn't have enough time to run my business. So I try to focus on what I do and what we do best, and I try not to be busy. I mean, sometimes I know which categories people are, because I just know what the company name is and things like that. But I try not to get into the details of people's sellers' account.
Yeah. Talk about the team a little bit. How do you build up a team? So you're, obviously a software developer, so you're going to build software. How do you develop a team? Because it sounds like there's some manual processes in place too.
So the way that works, we have that's one of the good things that I said from day one is that we're always going to have live support. It's not going to be that, oh, you can send the email and we have 24-hour response. So in regular business hours, people can always call us, and they found that being a real asset, that they can always, we have customer service, people answering the phones, clarifying any case, anything like that. And to be honest, our call volume is quite low, based on the amount of customers we have. But if anyone does call, we try to go through any cases, anything that they have questions about. And then we have a team of people that just go through the cases, and we try to keep that overnight, so that way there's no confusion of which cases we did, which cases the customer did, and we keep it overnight. Most of the cases we do, and I'm not sure you're familiar, but probably Amazon has most of that support also overnight answering, so they don't go to sleep. So we sometimes get an instant response overnight when we do our cases.
Who do you hire first, Justin? Like when it was just you in a program.
In the beginning was just me.
Yeah.
And everything was automated actually in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it was a one-man band. Everything was automated, and I was just drinking coffee. But that Amazon made things. No, not exactly, but that's how that's how it seemed. But Amazon made things a little bit harder for us because. First of all, they said, you can't have it all automated. You can't do so many cases, so they put limits on a lot of things. They didn't want to have, they have. I'm 100% sure they have a lot of their responses automated, but they want the sellers to open cases automated. So I had to get a team together of people doing actual cases, so that way the sellers feel they don't have an issue with Amazon. And since we went over it was 3 years ago. We went over to this human review. It's been going.
What is it?
Since we went over to the human review.
Oh, I gotcha.
Reviewing it, we didn't hear from Amazon since.
So after you, who do you hire first?
So I had a few salespeople that we hired.
Yeah. To reach out to. Because I see the biggest issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, is people just have never heard of you.
Right.
Because there's no reason, unless someone's very highly secretive, they don't want to give anyone details in their account. But there's no reason not to use you besides that, because you don't charge anything.
Right.
So how do you get the word out?
So we go to a lot of trade shows. In the last year, I also hired people to do the blog, social media, all of that. So, that's the only way to be out there these days. So you have to have blogs, and podcasts like yours. Trade shows is really good because people get, to meet you actually face to face, and that's been quite good. We've been at the Prosper show last year. That worked out quite well also.
Yeah. What did you?
Good show. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah. How was your experience? What did you? You had a booth there last year?
Yeah, I had a booth. I had an exhibit booth right across where you came in. Actually, this time we have the booth right where you come in, so you're not going to be able to miss us. And yeah, it was a real good combination of sellers because, we're not looking for the really low sellers like you mentioned in the beginning.
You need a certain volume, sales volume.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes the real big ones, we have a lot of the big ones, but something it's harder to convince them. But it was like a lot of medium to large sellers. So it was a real good mix.
Yeah.
It was a really good show.
So what are you going to do this year differently because of what you learned from last year?
I think we might invest a little bit more on the booth and things like that. Maybe some more salespeople, but it was quite good last year.
Yeah. What works at the booth?
Just getting as much interaction as you can. Just standing out there.
Like I remember I went to IRCE and someone had a thing
Helicopter?
of bacon.
Oh, okay.
In Chicago, they had an open thing of bacon, and the smell. You probably don't eat bacon, but the smell of bacon and just the look of it, it made you kind of look over. So I'm wondering if you have any interesting things that you guys do.
We actually exhibit the IRC also, doing it for 4 years already.
Yeah.
And the thing with IRC is they have like 10,000
Oh, it's
people
crazy.
walking the aisles. Yeah, you've been there, you know.
Yes.
And I've seen crazy gimmicks that people do over there. I can't. I'm never gonna forget. We once had a booth. It was across some other guy, and he was flying helicopters all over the place, and it was like bothering us the whole show. But I'm lucky I wasn't. Now you're telling me that I'm lucky I wasn't across this booth that had the bacons.
So someone's flying like a helicopter, like remote control helicopter?
Yeah. He's saying, you come into this type of, you put in your phone number, and then if you come out, your name and number comes out, and you win a flying helicopter or whatever, which never works, but okay.
So anything else you've seen that you like that worked or that you're gonna do?
Well,
Like, how do you make refunds manager sexy? It's like, okay, like,
yeah. I mean, I think it's attractive on its own.
It
just
is
the
attractive.
fact, just the fact that it's, that you don't pay anything if we don't get back anything for you. Most people, as soon as they see the concept, they're like, wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
how do you come up with, and this may change, this is right as of now, your percentage is 25%, right? It's on the website. How do you come up with 25%? What's the thought process?
So basically, when I was looking at anything in the industry that's similar to what we're doing, it's UPS ordering, UPS, FedEx, DHL. So there's a system which many are familiar with, is that if you send a package overnight and it's supposed to get by 10 a.m., if it gets at 10:15, they dispute it. Basically, they go through your bill and they charge you 50%.
Yeah.
So I said, 50% is a number, people are willing to work with. But I said, people here have actual overhead and
Yeah, there's physical
make
products.
it really, something that you can't refuse. I said, let's go half of that. 25% is a number that, listen, if we get back for you $10,000 and we take $2,500, it's $7,500 you didn't have yesterday, and that's something that I think that's you're getting more than what I'm getting is something that entices people to sign up.
Yeah. So Justin, you grew up in Brooklyn.
Right.
So when you were growing up, what did you want to be?
To be honest, I wanted to be a bookseller.
A bookseller. What do you mean?
Yeah, Jewish books.
Like a store?
I have a store and sell religious reading books. Yeah, that's what I wanted.
What is it? Someone in your
Never
family
tried.
have one of those?
Maybe
or what?
eventually I'll end up there.
You'll have a Jewish books on Amazon store.
Right. So we
You
had
could
the
live your dream.
same ideas as Amazon.
So
they also started with books.
So why that as a kid? Did a family member?
It's just that I love reading. That's something that I still like doing.
What do you have favorite business books?
Nothing in particular. A lot of self-help books.
Like what? What are some of your favorites? I'm always looking for recommendations.
Nothing in particular coming to me, but
Man's Search for Meaning is one of my
from
favorites.
Frankl, that's really good. Yeah.
Short
book, but very on point. A lot of people have taken that message and blown it up into very big books. But I think he gets his message. Yeah, he gets his message across very well.
What else is on your top book recommendations?
I can't remember right now offhand, but I probably finish one or two books a week, so I have quite a lot.
What are you reading or listening to now?
I'm reading a book. What's the name of it? It's in Hebrew. It's called Chayot HaKodesh. The whole, it's basically taking certain stories of the Talmud and comparing them to certain stories that in other literature, and it's very interesting how certain things that we have in our stories compared to worldly like fiction stories, and what the point is, what they wanted is tell you about these types of stories. It's a really interesting book.
So when you sit down to read, are you reading more kind of philosophical religious books or more business books, or a combination?
I would say 70% philosophical religious book, and probably like 20 to 30% business books. Yeah.
So I want to talk about some of the lows and the highs, right? It wasn't, maybe it was all smooth sailing, but a lot of people I talk to, it's not, because it sounds so far like really smooth sailing. Like, okay, I had this software company, and then I kind of iterated and went to Refunds Manager.
That's the thing in today's age. Everybody thinks that everything, you just make an Instagram picture. You only put the good pictures. You never put really what's going on in your house, right?
Right. So what's some of the challenges that you've had to face through having your own business?
I brought it up briefly before. I think the main challenge is what Amazon challenged us 3.5 years ago, and when they said that you can't do it automated. So we had to really rethink the whole business model, how to do it. And when they came out with this policy, we put the whole business on hold. So it was like quite a few months where there was no revenue coming in.
Right.
And we had to rethink how to get it that Amazon shouldn't make any issues, and how to get back all the customers that that got scared from Amazon. That's the worst thing, to get a bad email from Amazon. That's everybody's nightmare.
Exactly.
And they all got scared away. Amazon scared them away, and I had to get salespeople to actually get on the phone, call the people. Most people didn't want to answer. They saw Refunds Manager. They don't want to answer, and just to get them to explain that, what we were doing, and what we were doing, Amazon perceived as being wrong, what we're doing now. And it took some time to get people back on, and thank God, we got we didn't get everyone back, but we got most of the people that we wanted to get back, we got back on, and some people that saw a year later that, they're doing great and their friends are getting back thousands of dollars, they didn't want to miss out, and they joined us eventually. So
talk about that for a second, because I think, so at that time, this happens all the time in a lot of industries. It could be an industry, it could be a company. Like in this case, it was Amazon, and that just happened with, not too long ago, the Amazon cracked down on the reviews, right?
Right.
So the same thing's happening for those type of companies of what you went through at the time. Talk about, like, at the time when this happened, were you married? Do you have kids? Like, what's going on? It's not like just you in a basement. You're like, okay, I'll figure out a way. Like, there's other people who are affected by this, right?
Right. I mean, thank God that the period before that was a very successful one.
Right.
So even though there was no revenue for quite a few months,
you can weather it a little bit.
I was able to weather it quite fine, and until I got everything back. It was hard, especially that you used to, having all these clients and everything, and then suddenly, boom, it's like from 100 to 0. It was hard, but we went through it, and we've come out stronger and much better after that.
No, I like to hear this just because your process for when crap hits the fan,
Right.
So it sounded like you just kind of put everything on pause. You analyzed everything and figured out the new path, and then went back to the customers to tell them. Because were they getting an email from Amazon, like an automated email saying you are doing something wrong?
Exactly. That was the
And
problem.
that freaked them out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We got this email saying, "Oh, you're in violation of." So they did two things. 2 months before they did this, they changed the policy. So we were able, in the beginning when we did the system, for the first 6 months, we were able to go back and get back money as far as we wanted. We had a customer who went back to 2006.
Yeah.
And the thing was that any reimbursement that you asked previously to 2009, they basically gave it to you because their system was so messed up they weren't able to prove you differently. If you just told them dismiss a guy, okay, so I mean, except if it got to a higher amount. So what they did was first of all they changed the policy. They changed it in the terms of certain services agreement. You can only go back 18 months. They didn't notify the sellers about that, but they made the change. And we weren't aware of it to begin with, and we were processing cases, so we got a lot of denials. So I don't know what that triggered off Amazon, but now they had this big monster saying, "Oh, Refunds Manager is doing automated, and they're opening a lot of erroneous cases." they're not telling the whole story. The story is, you changed your policy, you didn't tell anybody about it,
Right.
and now we have a lot of cases that you're denying because you changed your policy.
Yeah.
That was one, and then they changed in the policy that you're not allowed to use an automated service, and then they sent this email to all the customers: you're using automated service. We see that you're using refunds. They didn't. Sometimes they said the name, sometimes they didn't. The funny thing is, I had one of my customers told me that Amazon actually called him up and told him, we see that you're using Refunds Manager. If you don't close it, we're going to close your account right away. He says, what happened? I mean, what's going on? We're asking our money back, and you shouldn't have messed up. So this rep told him, you should know that since Refunds Manager opened up, we had to open up a whole new department to handle all these cases.
Really?
Yeah. So that customer actually came back, and and we're doing really great for his account now. But it was really, really interesting.
That is interesting. So you've called Amazon to open a separate department.
It was really interesting. I always say that if Amazon in the beginning would have come to me and made an offer, we'll give you $25 million and close shop and don't tell anybody about it, they would probably be more profitable.
If I email this interview to Jeff Bezos, you may get he's like, yeah, maybe we should make this guy an offer.
Yeah.
He can't refuse. So
today the awareness is out there,
So that's on the low point side of things, right? What about what's been one of the proudest moments?
So I think that the low to the high is always the highest, the proudest moment. So the way that we're able to figure out a solution to the low and actually find a way of solving this problem, getting people on, that was the biggest high, I think. Even though today we have more customers and things like that, but the biggest high was that we're able to solve it and get our customers back and get their confidence and trust again. That was the high. So the high, sometimes is relevant to the low.
Right.
Coming out of that
it's all
be great.
Right. It's all relative. Yeah. So what's in the pipeline? What's in the future for Refunds Manager?
We tried doing different avenues, different things, but we realized there's other competition doing it, and we didn't really pursue other things. I know that we're good at this and we're staying at this.
Yeah.
Actually working on 1 or 2 different cases. I have a team of 2 or 3 customers that they're my feedback team. They come with ideas to me. I discuss it with them, and they're like Amazon geniuses. They're like really good.
Because anything they tell you benefits them in the end, because you can implement it and save them more money.
So I made a deal with one of these guys. Says, bring me a case. We'll run it through your account. Then you're not going to pay for it. And that really worked out for him. He made quite a nice amount of money on that one.
That will incentivize them for new ideas, because you're like, we'll do a test with you, and I won't charge you for this test to see what happens. Right.
So so I have 1 or 2, a few customers that are really good. They know sometimes I say they know it even better than I know it, because they're the ones that are on the floor. They're the ones that are actually selling, so they can come back and say, this is what's happening. This is January 1st. I actually got off the phone with one of them 2 hours ago, and he told me, you should know January 1st. I'm not going to get into the details about it because we're still reviewing it. January 1st, Amazon changed something, how they're charging certain fees. And, look into this. We're looking into it. We're seeing how Amazon is handling it. And, so it's really interesting.
How do they know that? They don't get an alert or anything, do they?
No, it's just
they're not reading
books. They're looking at the reports like crazy, and and they're saying, "Wow, this is something doesn't make sense over here." And they're number people, the people that are really into the numbers, and they're looking at the financial numbers constantly, and things just pop up, and it doesn't make sense.
I see. So they're pulling up the reports from the Amazon dashboard, looking through it, and they're seeing differences from what it used to be, even though it should be the same.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So a lot in the pipeline here, Justin. What else from the story of Refunds Manager? What did we miss? What should we add? Where should we lead people?
I think anybody that's not signed up, can just should review it and certainly give us a chance. Let us prove ourselves.
Do you have is it a case by case basis, or is there a benchmark of like you need to be doing certain number of units to actually be considered?
You can be considered. There's no block on the site to sign up. We have customers signing up that have $2,000 of sales. It's just that these customers usually take away our customer service resources
Right.
because they're calling up every few days. Hey, I signed up 2 days ago and we didn't get any reimbursement. They thought they're going to get reimbursed more than what they sell. That's not happening. So we don't have, but the truth is the maximum is once you're doing like $1 million a year. Even though I have some smaller sellers, that
Yeah.
are so
That's usually the
they
minimum.
don't look anything at their account, and we've been able to get back a few $1,000s, sometimes larger amounts even. But most of the time, it's people doing $1 million a year in FBA, those and above.
So someone doing 10, 20, 30,000 a month, would you turn them away, or what do you do with those people?
No, like I said, we don't turn anybody away. We'll review their account, see if there's anything that we can find. $10 saved, $10 earned is.
Okay. I know, because it's you only have so many resources, right? You
Right.
only have so many resources of people, and so I don't know if it's like, well, if you don't meet this threshold, we really can't serve you.
Right. So we've never turned anybody away. The only thing is that if you sign up, we don't find any cases. Don't come to us and say, hey, you didn't find anything.
Right.
We can only find if you have the volume.
It's an
there.
audit,
It's only a percent. It's a real it's a percent. Most of the times it's even less than a percent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to have the volume there.
Yeah. Justin, thank you so much. It's really interesting to hear the behind the scenes, what people aren't really looking at, because no one wants to look at the numbers in a fine-tooth comb like you've created. So where should we point people towards? People can go to refundsmanager.com.
That's
Any
right.
particular other places or blog posts we should point people towards?
They can go to refundsmanager.com. You also have a blog on the website, which has a lot of information.
Yeah.
You have some really good blog posters that
Yeah,
I hire.
I was looking through them, and do you write them? How does the
No,
content
I have someone
work?
that I can't do everything.
I mean,
So
not
I
you,
have
but
a
the
writer that
team.
runs the social media team. Yeah.
The writer does write it. I didn't know if you have like some of them are guest posts. Like you have a really interesting post on the Amazon Go, kind of what's cutting edge in industry and Amazon, on like
Right.
Amazon Go and the psychology behind that. So you have an internal team doing that.
Right. So they do the post, the Twitter and the Facebook, LinkedIn, those things. Yeah, I just get to look at it before they post. Sometimes not even that. But yeah, I mean they're a really good team, and I really rely on them. So they're quite good.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to be the first one to thank you, and I look forward to seeing you at Prosper Show.
Same here. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for your time. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.